brothers and sisters. The reason why I now speak, you can see I have paid my dues to Nigeria, my country. And there is a book written by Wole Soyinka. The man died. The full story of that title is that the man died who keeps silent in the face of anarchy. I want to speak because not all men have died. We need to speak out. In spite of my handicap, probably because of the handicap, I don't go where I should go now. But I listen to a lot of things. And I thought we should speak out. We speak out for the good of our people, for the good of our country, for the good of our nation, the Igbo nation. We have seen gradually the decimation of the Igbo nation. And the tragedy of it is that we see our own people being used to put us on the spot. What happened in the last few weeks, the outrage and the denials and accusations I had out there, was something that people should look at. When I listened to that interview, it started with two people, a Harvard Ugu and a professor of Basigwe. I didn't know whom because they were referring to him by a title. But I started asking for the numbers of names I heard. Dr. D.N. Okechukwu, and so on and so forth. So I started calling them. Many of them knew me. This is Basigwe. Once I mentioned, I said, you forgotten. I went through Chuka Okonjo. We were all at Nsukka University. That's why I graduated. So when things are beginning to happen, especially what is happening in our country today, one needs to speak out. In speaking out, of course, you put yourself in danger also. But what do we lose being alive when things are going bad? This outrage that shook Igbo nation, I want to look at it from the angle of the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter. The person people I've talked about didn't realize that this man, Harvard Ugu, has not just started. He works in NTA. Some of the people I talked to, that one is a trouble. He work in NTA. He knows nothing. They don't realize that some of us are following 1994. He wanted to trace the origin of their lineage. And he's pursuing, he's published a few books. And you can't dispute. You think, when they tell me, I was urging them to talk so that I see. And what does it mean? What our problem is, what I'm going to quote now. I was in school during the days of NCNC. The NCNC lawyer, Kola Balogun, was addressing a judge. I don't remember this judge, but said, "My Lord, when a man is full of malice and prejudice, his thinking faculty becomes naturally saturated with emotions. He loses the balance of clear judgment and logical conclusions." We have a lot of prejudices in Nigeria that saturate our emotions, that we don't think clearly and we don't draw logical conclusion. And that is the point I'm trying to make. What necessitated my deciding to speak is that instead of dousing this controversy that happened in Ohanaeze, we now come to a stage where the neck of Ohanaeze is looking for scapegoats to discipline. My position is that number one, Igbo, whether what we had was false or whether it was true is no issue now. The issue is that the leadership of Ohanaeze should accept that the Igbo have told them the direction they should go by the outrage that went on, the information that some people are initiating for the Igbo a reconciliation move to Ugwuaza. Harvard, when they are talking, made the mistake of mentioning Fulani, and he withdrew. But there was no Fulani in the report. Whether it is Fulani or Hausa or North, we know what we are talking about. The suffering, the marginalization of Ndibo, you saw it clearly in the election that went in 2023. We still see it during the campaign when a spokesman of Mr. President, without exception, Igbos are a threat to the Yorubas. The president did not call him to order. If you are running a country, want to unite a man, and he said he had no apologies. Here is an arch-tribalist saying things. You also saw the comments during the election attributed to an Oba. If you don't vote away, you'll be pushed into the lagoon. Or the man in Jakonde Estate say, if you don't want to pay, you get out of this estate. Or do it, what is the Labour candidate Adeniro? Those campaign from Yoruba almost destroyed him. Why? He's the father of a Chinedu. My question is, what have the Igbos done that they must be treated this way in a Nigeria? Igbos were the cornerstone that carried this country from colonial days, fighting for freedom until we got our freedom in 1960. Igbos in the north, in the west, in the east, all over, were the cornerstone. Name them. Macaulay, yes. But when Macaulay left, Zik of Africa, and whether it is in the north or the west or in the east, everybody knew Zik and what he stood for. Why? And Igbos now the rejected stone. The stone that the builders rejected. And rather than cohesive, put everybody. Our problem in Igbo land is that because of this nature, we are a very Republican people. No Igbo man wants to be a slave to anybody. Once he grows up, he wants to fend for himself. And as that is right. Is it our fault? I remember, I think it's Obasanjo. Anywhere you go in the world and you don't find the Igbo man, then that place is not livable. In the diaspora, we're over 6 million in diaspora across the world. We didn't do this to ourselves. It's a gift of God. Instead of our brothers in Nigeria either emulating us or encouraging us, oh, welcome, this year, they saw it as a challenge. Jealousy, malice, prejudice. You hear my quotation. And their thinking has become so saturated with emotion, they lost it. That's why the Igbos appear to be endangered species in Nigeria today. Nobody wants an Igbo man. But thanks to people like Pa Onibanjo of Yoruba, thanks to people like Sir Edwin Clark, in the life of Igbo, in the life of Ohanaeze, under Nyanwodo, the Pandef people, the Afanifere people, the Middle Belt people, named Nyanwodo as the coordinator of a political collaboration. These are people who feel we are brothers, we should work together. But to some others, wipe them out. The program of the war itself, at the end, they stigmatized the Igbos. It was an Igbo coup. Who said so? Because they didn't want the truth to be. That is why the truth of the matter. Let us now face the truth of the matter. The discovery during the war, a necessity is a breeder of invention. We were blockaded. The United Nations talk about don't blockade Palestine and allow them food. What did you do during the war? You blockaded the Igbo nation, the southeast to be precise. You blockaded them. They shouldn't get them. You found our children, Kwashoko, some of them had to be flown to Gabon and they didn't know where they belong. Some of them are Gabonese and so on. They don't even know where they came from. For those who have conscience, it was the Red Cross that was helping. British Prime Minister visited us during the war. They hired Russians to bomb markets. I don't know how many of us young people know this. Many young people don't know what happened during the war. I was part of it. Because I joined the war from the university. I was an assistant registrar in the University of Nigeria. And when the war came, of course, you have to defend yourself somehow. With sticks and machete against rockets and bombs. And we were taught. We became militia to defend our place. We are taught military by those of them who survived the pogrom. Because when they now did the Igbo coup, they went out and slaughtered the Igbo officers, not only of about civilians, genocide. They went to buy any Igbo. Once Igbo, and people came home with a breath of their life. My father-in-law was working G.B. Oliver in a place called Mayanchi in Guzo. My wife now was a young girl. She didn't speak Igbo because she was born and bred in Mayanchi. She spoke Hausa fluently. When she was due for sale, the father had to send her down to Kriarsion to learn Igbo. That was how we integrated Nigeria, because we Igbo believed that Nigeria is a fatherland. And anywhere they live should be a fatherland. But our brothers and sisters see us as a threat to their existence. The rough treatment being given to Igbo now. The discriminatory tone, body language, especially revealed during the 8 years of Buhari regime, cannot go unmentioned. So back to Igbo, which is the purpose of my message to Igbo, the truth of the matter. Igbo, Ohanaeze. What is Ohanaeze? How did it come about? Many people who are now riding high that Ohanaeze don't know the origin of Ohanaeze. During the war against Southeast was predominantly Igbo, against Igbo. During that war of genocide against them, they banned Igbo Union. Igbo Union was a union of Igbo, wherever they may be. They came together for development. You heard about Igbo Union Secondary School in Kano. I'm sure many northern leaders now, some of them went to that school. You hear about Queen of Apostle Secondary School for girls. It's now Queen Amina. They don't want to hear anything Igbo. They think the missions where the Coups were hatched. But that is malice and prejudice, saturation of emotion. It is not born by facts. So when this issue of appeasement came, it was madness from the Igbo. One lesson we should learn in the Igbo: if you want to do something for the Igbo, consult them first. Look at what I'm trying to do. Don't go in that you are doing it for the Igbo when you are really not sure that the Igbo know what you are doing. That is the bottom line of what started. Those who are denying whether it is true know that there's a document. I have read that document. At least somebody has read it for me. Where a Dr. D.N. Okechukwu, who was a convener, and Ajibrin Bisala, a coordinator, produced a report to Ohanaeze Ndigbo in a retreat, showing they have initiated a reconciliation of Ndigbo with the North. Arguments say whether or not meant Fulani or not, but that's not the issue. It's not a material. That document exists. Ohanaeze knows about that document. So what is the need of crucifying the man who by accident, Harvard Ugu, was writing on this development because he following the lineage, how the Igbos emerge and how they are doing. He's written a lot of books, many of which are valuable to people. The man he called was not just a troublemaker. He was his friend, a professor, who was a reviewer of one of his books. That is Obasigwe. Why do you persecute them? Because the trouble wrong with leadership is that when you criticize the leader, he calls you an enemy instead of listening to what you are telling him. Our leaders are prone to tell me what I want to hear, not what I should know. President Biden, when he was appointing different people, he said, tell me what I should know, not what I want to know. Can our leaders come out with that kind of thing and tell us? Psychophancy has become a disease in our country, and it is this psychophancy that makes us go in a wheelchair chair dance in our leadership. Back to Ohanaeze. What is the problem of Ohanaeze? Ohanaeze had his, perhaps an elected person wants to extend his tenure, then a crisis starts. This time around, my message to Ohanaeze leadership is, please, don't escalate this matter by looking for scapegoat, because you create further division in Igbo land. Our problem in the last 4 years of Ohanaeze is the problem of political gladiators competing among themselves on who takes over or who dictates the pace of Ohanaeze in Imo State. I say Imo State because after 2020, President Generalship of Ohanaeze rotates among the 7 Igbo states that are in Ohanaeze. Who are they? Abia, Anambra, Delta, Ebonyi, Enugu, Imo, Rivers, in that alphabetical order. And everybody, after 4 years, they know the state to take over. The idea is this. A president general is elected from a state. The deputy will be brought by the state, which will take over from the present state. That one, it is the local Ohanaeze to tell us, this man is sent to you as the deputy. He sits there because his state will take over the president generalship in the next year. The secretary comes from the following in alphabetical order. That is why, for example, when I was secretary general, the president general of Ohanaeze came from Delta. It was the turn of Delta. Ambassador Rafu Wechwe. After Delta, Ebonyi will be the next person. Who was the deputy president? Igariwe from Ebonyi. Who was the secretary? Nduka from Enugu. See that alphabetical order. It's a well thought out. Ohanaeze started, initiated by Professor Wabeze of Atani. He's a constitutional lawyer, to replace the banned Igbo Union. At that time, his money, he called the meeting, he was secretary, was everything, What we did at that time, when you call a meeting of Ohanaeze, we elect any traditional rulers to chair the particular meeting. And we went and went and went until it became necessary to draw a constitution. Nyanwodo was the chairman of that first constitution drafting committee. I was a member, and many others. We coined the constitution. And Justice also became Enugu. E, not A. He became, I believe that he came a Weston because our first president was Joe Iruku Abia, which is number 1 in the list. He had his problem because I think he wanted to extend his tenure, and people said no. Then it went to Anambra. From Anambra, it went down to what is it in that alphabetical order? Delta. Before it now came to Ebonyi. Before it then came to Enugu. What we are saying is that Ohanaeze has in his constitution procedure for electing the president. It's only the president general that Ohanaeze vote for. The others are supplied by the local Ohanaeze to go and present. Those who are neither secretary or assistant secretary or treasurer from their state, supplied vice presidents. In the Chonya, may he rest in peace, was vice president in Enugu State when I was secretary. I think Asoluka, barrister from Imo, was a vice president. And so on and so forth. So it's a well laid out. What has happened is that, as usual, like in our country, people compromise the rules and regulations that provide for you to guide you, and do something outside that due process. And of course, you know that once you do it, you create a problem. During my calls, during this crisis, to many people, the dramatic personnel in that drama, I listened to them. I asked questions. It was clear that there were compromising of our procedure. The problem in Ohanaeze today, and I'm aware that there are Igbos who quietly want to draw attention to this. They don't want it to see as if Igbo are broken. From the discussion, I have some see these people as troublemakers. Once you mention their name, one of the names I got from my discussion, I'm sure when they listen to me, those I discussed with did not understand where I was going when I was asking questions. One of the names, Engineer Chris Okoye. And it's just one of our most patriotic Igbo people. Self-service. Every time he's there drawing attention on how Igbos can rise. In some quarters in the Igbo land, he's not our man. And once you show a Christian, they exclude you. Ohanaeze is down today, run today, Imobi. If you call members of Imobi in Ohanaeze, the meeting hall in Nike, they will spill over. But how many attend Imobi today? How many know that they were Imobi? I am a statutory member of Imobi. I live in Enugu. How many times have you sent me word there is Imobi? Then you come. Well, after Imobi, there is no communication. You don't know what is going on. Because when it was the turn of Imo, the political gladiators in Imo, and they know it is true, because I got this information from the same people when I was going around. They didn't know what I was up to. In fact, they mentioned names. The sitting governor and Rotational, the outgoing governor. There was effort to capture Ohanaeze. What did our constitution say? The state that is producing the vice president, give us 3 people. The General Assembly of Ohanaeze will vote for them, and whoever wins. And what do states do? Of course, they go for a consensus candidate. But that is local. Their consensus candidate will come with three or two other people for the nation to vote. If your consensus candidate wins, fine. If the other people beat them, fine. What did we do in Enugu when it was our turn? The governor, they went to the governor, your state is supposed to produce the PG. At that time, Buruburu, he called a meeting of Enugu people. I was the first to speak. And admonished our people for not attending Ohanaeze meeting. That if you go there, you find him, Anambra, Abia, top people. And you start looking for our people. People should learn to attend meeting that involves them. Ekweremadu, a great boy of Igbo land. Don't mind what is happening to him, it's all political intrigue. He's having a jail sentence in the United Kingdom. Before he went to United Kingdom, he told the embassy of Nigeria what he was going to do. He didn't hide it. I am going to take a boy to this day. I'm sponsoring him to give a kidney to my daughter in a certain hospital. If the embassy knew that it's not contrary to their law, you should not have issued a visa. That's what you're supposed to do, but they issued a visa, luring him to break the law of their land. The man is serving a jail sentence. This is the injustice that we're talking about. Ekweremadu stood up in Enugu and said, look, Justice Ezobu had been President General of Ohanaeze. He comes from Enugu West. Mr. Alex Obonna is the present chairman of Ohanaeze Enugu branch. He's from Enugu East. And we are treating this post that is now PG should go to Enugu North Senatorial District. That's how Nwodo came about. The people of Enugu North were asked to go out and knock around and bring them a name. This Nwodo wept when Nsukka people, the North, said, you. He said, look, I lost my wife, my children are suffering. I cannot carry this. The traditional rulers, the Nsukka General Assembly, everybody said, look, between you and their brother, we know how articulate you are. Please do these things a national duty. We would accept it. People in Enugu who showed interest, including Admiral Alison Madeke, Richard Ozobu, and late Professor Chiwete Ejike. Wait around. He did his job locally with his brothers. Alison Madeke stepped down for him. Richard Ozobu accepted to be a cosmetic candidate. Chiwete Ejike refused to step down. And Ohanaeze does not want to know what to do in their local palace. You must bring 3 names. So, who are the 3 names? Richard Ozobu, Nwodo, and Professor Ejike. That was the presented to Ohanaeze. The chairman of the reporting committee was Anya Professor, and ABC Nwosu was the secretary, Professor Gray. That at the country when everybody, delegates from all branches came. And it was a full day's job because you have to accredit all of them in a process. Richard also stepped down and he left HK and Nwodo. After the election, Nwodo won. And that's how Nwodo became President General of our internal system was not a affair of Ohanaeze for that position. Our trouble started in Igbo, right? What is Professor Obiozo? And unfortunately, Igariwe, who was a President General, in time of Igariwe, his governor, Martin Elechi, did not support his candidature. But he still won the election because of the democratic principle of due process. He still won. And remember, he was deputy president to Delta. And he was the state that was saying he won. And he lived his 4 years. Who was his secretary? John Wago. The next state that will take from, I thought it was John Wago. Actually, I was one of them. one of the secretaries. John Wago took over from me. So it was John Wago from Imo. Imo was to be the secretary. And they didn't vote for Joe. It was Imo that brought John Wago as secretary. Ohanaeze Imo. There was no contention there. And so when it came to Biozo's case, these political gladiators wanted to capture the soul of Ohanaeze in Imo. Apparently won. In my interview, in my calling these people, they gave me details. Money exchanged hands. Corruption. Some of the candidates for that opposition took money as a way of curbing corruption. They took the money to step down, but they refused to step down. So give me the money. I'll go and do what I want to do. And so the election conducted by Igariwe was flawed. Many of us called ourselves concerned members of Imobi, raised an alarm. You have not followed the process. Obiozo, your election did not follow due process of our constitution. Nevertheless, because the political giants have come into it, Obiozo was forced on us. The concerned Imobi people didn't rest. You know, there is a setup, there is a committee of bishops of Igbo land that exists now. Archbishop Ede, the Catholic bishops, the Anglican bishops, Onubog, Okpoko, they exist. These concerned people took the matter. Please, let us have some peace in our hands. Look at how our constitution has done. This group said, okay, do you want us to look into this matter? We said yes. President General, will you accept our intervention when we come with everybody? Both sides said yes. And they went to work. They refused any of us, whether Obiozo or the concerned, to finance them. They used their own finances to do the job. They met from time to time. These are bishops who want our Igbo land to go. Igbo people, Igbo spiritual leaders. They came out and suggested on how Obiozo, because we have found this constitution, we done in order to maintain peace. You will remain. We don't want to say go back and do the election. But secretary, which come from the Abia, the secretary now, you step down for the other person who belongs to the concerned, who are complaining that this thing follow, will be the secretary. You are both from Abia. Professor Swabo from Imo was chairman of Ohanaeze Imo branch. John Wago was a contestant. So I went around and got the facts that are clear, the truth of the matter. Who is the deputy governor, the deputy president general? Somebody from Rivers, Ohanaeze. Later on, he died. Nobody, many of us didn't even know that the deputy president general of Ohanaeze died. And nobody, no noise was made about it. Subsequently, the president himself died and was buried. And they needed to replace him to live out the tenure of Imo. I am aware from my investigation. 25 names were listed, including names like General Ihekire, Ocholo, Ahamba. You know Ahamba, son. Many of them, 25. They were listed. All they needed to do was to do their internal thing and send us 3 names. There is nothing in our constitution that talks about consensus candidate for president general. What did we go? Iwanyanwu emerged. Presented by the government of Imo State. No participating government in Ohanaeze has that kind of power it is Ohanaeze, Imo State, that should present the people to Ohanaeze General. It is this introduction of political finesse into affairs of Ohanaeze that is destroying us, and people are now getting malice and prejudice to saturate their thinking, and we now go on casting aspersion on ourselves and destroying the body which we have to build. My message in this appearance: the tenure of Imo State as PG of Ohanaeze remains 6 months. By January, somebody from Rivers must take over Imo. Rivers must take over as PG. They must follow our constitution, and the General Assembly must vote for it. If they do what Imo has done, we go into another crisis. All I'm asking, message, Ohanaeze leadership, please don't more escalate this matter of who initiated. Igbos have told you it is no-go area. Forget it. If you have made a mistake of accepting it, and forget it. Because we have the hindsight of